But the expectations are there. So the moment you do something, especially if you were not trusted to do it, once you do it, then they trust you with something bigger than that, and so that's why for me I love to be in communities. Not that I always have the answers, but just the presence, because I know it means so much to the community members. So my presence, I know it makes a difference. So that's why I avail myself. I'm hardly in my office.
Do you know, you're dealing with a lot, and we're talking to you in a week where the DA is talking about water tankers. I'll give you an opportunity to say what you have to say about it, because it's the news that's heading the headlines now in terms of, hey, it's doubled, it tripled, it used to be 100 million, now it's 777 million, all of that. Tell us, what is the story from your perspective?
So the story, Brad Dave, is that firstly, the amount of 777 million, that was taken a screenshot. It was from our SEP system. And that is an official has leaked that information.
Okay.
So they took a screenshot of POs, purchase orders, and said this is the amount that has been spent. But that is not. So it's just the POs. So some of them have been rejected. Some of them cancelled because they were duplicates. I'm told there are some that they're still back and forth.
Okay.
And most of those invoices that are back and forth are part of invoices that were not paid in the 2023-2024 financial year. So that's just to deal with the figure of 777. That is not correct in terms of the expenditure. The actual expenditure is the amount of 621 million rand in the 2024-2025 financial year. 179 million rand comes from that year. And it's the invoices that were not paid because they budgeted so little on it. So that amount was then carried over in September. Then it was approved that there will be a budget adjustment. 170.
So 170 something adds and makes to 600.
621.
Okay, got
now,
you.
So that's the first is the 179 million. Since the DA is making it as if we are the big spenders, 98 million rand of that 621 was spent in quarter one, July, August, September, when DA was still in charge.
Ooh.
Now we are saying we are accounting for the remainder of which is the amount that we have spent as this administration. It's still high, but what we needed to dispel is that we are this corrupt and reckless government that we feed our friends through water tankers. And I then said to the members of the media, please go to the former mayor to tell you what happened. On the 24th of July, 2024, I was in Tshwane House when the service providers for water tankers were blocked Madiba Street, blocked the road behind Thabo. So it made the news.
Yes.
And because the former mayor was not around, maybe he didn't register what happened that day, but it ended up with a meeting with the CM and the team where they negotiated a settlement. That settlement is that 179 million rand. There were invoices of about 80 million where they said the systems could not, they didn't have backup documents and everything.
That's before you were mayor.
That was before I was a deputy mayor. We were in Tshwane House. We had to be escorted through the back routes that day. So I'm saying it's not that there is no story that we can link the invoices from. But also the problem in Tshwane is that in 2021, 2022, there's never been a dedicated line item for water tankers, for emergency water tankers.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that we did not spend in 2021, we didn't spend in 2022. So all of these invoices, so these are people who were not paid overtime. But then we then said the amount is still high, Pradave. You can't spend 421 million rand in your own water and you just pay for traveling. You're just transporting the water and you pay almost 500 million. That is not good. But we then account what then, if you look at the breakdown, did this expenditure, is it unique in the 9 months that we're in the office? The first one is that we had a Rand water maintenance. That has never happened, I think, in the past 10 years. You remember the issue with the Palmit system where we didn't have water.
Yes, for a while.
We had to deploy water tankers. It was unplanned for. You remember in July and in October, November. The maintenance continued. Just, months ago, we were fighting with the residents where the water was in there for 29 days and extended to 2 weeks. Oh. So we are saying this amount was spent during that time. The other one is because of your normal, the repairs and maintenance issues on the pipes. So that is the amount. But then there is also the issue of the court orders after the cholera outbreak. You see that expenditure didn't start now. It started then. And even the farmers of Rooiwal, there's a court order that says give these people water through water tankers. So we said to the public, we're not saying this amount is acceptable, but we need to set this on record, because if we can't be trusted with the management of the public purse, that thing dented our image. So that's why we had to come out clearly on what happened. Not to excuse it, but what happened. And then we also shared what we're going to do just to reduce that amount.
There's a growing belief that there's a syndicate of sorts.
All right, Mr. Dave, let's just check what is a syndicate, right? And then it says here, a syndicate is a group of individuals or organizations that join forces to undertake a business purpose, right? Such as investing in a project or distributing new shares, okay? By pooling resources and sharing costs and risks, a syndicate can take a venture that would be too large or risky for a single entity. Another meaning is to a news agencies that, let's do this. What is a syndicate in the context, right? In the context, in a political context, right? Political context, right? Let's see what it says, because we're talking about politics here. In a political context, a syndicate generally refers to a powerful, often informal group of individuals or factions within a large party or system who pool their influence to achieve a specific common interest, such as controlling leadership, selection, and operation. So, in other words, if we decide, for example, in the case of the water thing, remember that the water is provided, or it's supposed to be provided, or it's supposed to be supplied by the government. Okay, now the problem with the government is that they face problems. For example, maybe it's not good, and then at the end of the day there is no water, and then they don't receive water. Obviously, if they don't receive water, that means they must get water somewhere. So there are people who come together and say there is a gap somewhere, which is the gap of the water. We need to supply people the water, right? And then they buy maybe some tanks and everything, they put water in there, and then they tell the government that we can supply to your people, we can give your people water. Right? Now, the government, they'll have to pay those guys to supply that water, whether where they get it, I don't know, but they are the ones that supply the water, okay? They use their trucks, they have got the trucks. The chances are sometimes the government might not have the trucks. They have got the trucks. They take the trucks, take the water to wherever they're supposed to be taking the water. They get paid by the government. Okay? Because remember, when you are supplying a water to the community, they are not paying for that water. Somebody has to pay for that water. So that is when the government comes in. That's why you see where there's a complaint about, you guys are working with your friends, with the tankers, and all of it. So it's a group of people that like that in the context of water. I just wanted to make that point.
There are people who are making, this is a business. The water, whether